Hey folks, I'm totally not named Dan, though you can call me that if you want. And after many, many years of trying, I finally topped nationals. But not in quite the way you might think, and I didn't do it alone. So I'm here to bring in a couple of my friends to talk about the experience with me.
Hey, thanks for having me here for this. And yeah, first time topping that as well.
Yeah, bit of a first for all of us, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
You could argue that I topped Nats back in 2012, but it was a weird time back in 2012 when we still had the diversity rule. So while I may have technically topped the event, I didn't get to play in top cuts because, well, three other people played my character better and four played it worse. And I think actually 16th made it into top 8 at the end due to how oversaturated Goro was that year.
So is it just the top 8 that play a unique character?
Yeah, under diversity, that was how it worked.
Okay.
With the diversity rule removed, we instead get 3 Bertolts in top, which
Yeah.
I find kind of silly because I actually beat Bertolt on the day, but ultimately that's neither here nor there.
Hmm.
So, I guess we start with mentioning day one. Day one was Old Dog's New Tricks. I believe you were there as well, Yuna?
Yeah, I was because I finally got to play Sheepman.
Yeah, and Sheepman was fun. But yeah, as you can see, I'm playing Inferno. And I'm playing Inferno partly because I couldn't find my other stuff, but partly also because I got this promo playing in the pre-release for Libra of Souls. And well, it's apparently triatomic bronze, sublimation printed black over the top and stuff. And it looks really good. It's a lot worse when it's behind two sleeves, but I wanted to protect it because this is an irreplaceable promo.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They will never print another one like it because apparently it was just testing foiling processes for perfume boxes, and even at the going rate of the time of 30 quid a promo on the secondary market, it wasn't worth them printing more.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, crazy promos. But I mean, Old Dog's New Tricks was fun. I did all right. I went 2-1. We were supposed to have a fourth round, but UGN messed things up, so we only had three.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame that UGN sucked, but ultimately, it was still a fun time. I still got 4 participation points for being involved in it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I still got to test out Inferno, who is kind of ridiculous because he's a 35 health six-hander, and I'd forgotten that they even did that prior to Attack on Titan. But he doesn't really do anything other than burn the opponent by removing attacks from his discard pile whenever he's blocked. But even that alone is enough that over the course of a long game, which is health mandates, he only has to get 1 or 2 hits through blocks before he can just burn the opponent to death over time. Inferno's pretty good.
I managed to block you a fair few times, but that was ultimately
Yeah,
my downfall was just being able to block.
you had normal health, and I hit you once or twice, and that was all it took.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't play the old decks event, but we played this deck in our third day, and I noticed exactly what you just said. 2 attacks in, I was like, oh damn, now I'm like on 8 health
Yeah,
and I cannot block.
I mean, you can block, but it doesn't make much difference
Yeah.
in the long term.
Yeah.
And day one, also the day we ended with the retro draft.
Yeah, which for me was my first time even really playing any of the cards, which was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't play that much Red Horizon myself at the time, so a lot of it was new to me. I didn't realize how much just not caring about progressive difficulty was in that set. I took 8 copies of Piercing Howl and 4 of Ballista and made an absolutely crazy, just never care about progressive deck.
It was also weird seeing structure deck cards printed in normal rarities in the set.
Yeah, so you say that. A lot of these were not starter deck cards at the time. Valiant Assault, which is now a promo, but was also a print on demand Red Horizon starter deck card. That print on demand Red Horizon starter deck was not available until 2 Red Horizon sets after the one we played.
Ah, okay.
That was a
Okay, that,
reprint. And likewise
oh,
with most of Caden's kit.
that makes sense.
Now, I didn't actually realize Valiant Assault had been printed in a set, so it was really cool to see a legal card randomly pop up in our retro draft.
Yeah, I think it's the only one, but I was playing it earlier that day in Sheepman.
Yeah, I was genuinely considering taking it because like a tenner these days. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you can keep the cards, I suppose. Pick up the Valiant Assaults, yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm.
ultimately I was too focused on having fun with the draft, and I'm not sure if I should have been or not. Moving on though, I think it's time to talk about the Saturday events. The Saturday was the main day, and the Saturday was when I played Woman. Woman is an absolutely stupid character again. A lot of the stuff she relies on is actually the same as Inferno because she cares about the self-mill that he would normally use to fill his discard pile, for pretty much the same reason, that she removes attacks from discard to get massive plus damage and a bit of plus speed in the process. And combine that with a few other effects, and she just pushes through everything. And yeah, it's a classic deck of play 3 attacks, win game, because they all go through, they all do double-digit damage. It's fairly simple and straightforward, but it's also interesting in that it has responses to enhances, and doing things in the right order really matters for it. I like Woman as a deck a lot. Woman won first round really easily, and third round really easily, and I had a really bad matchup against Jota before lunch, but even that I managed to take to a draw. I was genuinely expecting to do really well. And then the deck just crapped out on me for 4 rounds after that.
Man, that's a shame because I feel like among all these aggro decks that we've been seeing, because there are a lot right now in this format, Woman just like goes a little bit beyond that, so you can rush out characters like Bertolt really well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Bertolt is a turn 3 aggro deck, maybe a turn 4. Woman is a turn 2, maybe turn 3 at a real push. Bertolt has enough minus damage that he can take Woman to turn 3, but he has to actually focus on dealing with Woman to do that. So Woman tends to just win that matchup, and then if she doesn't just win the matchup there, to be able to do his big thing, he has to blow up all but 3 of his foundations, at which point you have the perfect opportunity to swing in because Woman's designed to work on 3 because she's a 5-hander, doesn't get to play more than that.
Yeah, that's great. I felt exactly that going against you. I think against me you did to turn 3, so it does show that she can resist a little bit and then still go even against a defensive character builds up a little bit. And I felt exactly that. Once you mill and you get your pieces, it's just very hard to block anything. It's hard to do anything about it.
Right, because for me, it was very much the opposite in that matchup. Once you build and get your pieces, there is nothing I can do other than just block and take you to turn 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like
Probably
I was
longer than
playing
that.
a 5-hander as well, and because I wasn't that aggressive, being Tiger who kind of tries to drag the game out, I had a very different successive.
Yeah, I suspect you would do better against others and worse against some of the things that I did well against, because I had Bertolt, I know, is a massive threat for people who care about their foundations and care about going a few turns deep.
yeah, I felt that definitely. And in fact, I took advice from this game that we had. I now put Imi in my side deck whenever I have Bertolt, just go into a more aggro character and try to out aggro him.
Yeah, because that is the way to take down Bertolt, it seems.
Whereas Tiger can't do that with all of his 5 diff attacks and being a 5-hander.
Very few people turn 2 in the current meta. I think the main ones are just Godzilla and Ymir. Ymir being the only one who can really transform that fast.
Yeah, and Tiger very much feels like worse Godzilla in a lot of aspects.
The build you had, yes, he is a worse Godzilla, but he's a worse Godzilla that gets to throw the same echo attack 4 times.
Yeah, it's stupid. And then because you're probably going to draw at least 2 cards after that. You can sometimes draw a second copy, and if you have a lot of momentum, you can throw the same attack 8 times for 2 copies.
Yeah, and yeah. This Woman deck, as said, did terribly on the day. I placed 50th, but we got a really nice write-up that sadly I won't be linking because it connects to my real name, because for some reason they decided they had to use legal names for streams. But yeah, because me and Jota were on stream together, this deck is talked about on there, and it's a really nice write-up for both of us that goes over the pros and cons of both decks. Talks about how his Momo, probably not a thing you're likely to see, but you will see things somewhat similar on the life symbol anyway. And about how Woman just demonstrates the insane speed and willingness to get rid of its own resources that the fire symbol has going on, and has pretty much always had going on. Epitomized in the, I think Violent Ken is his official name, though they just called him Ken on the card. That one particular Street Fighter character is the big epitome of what fire does, and Woman honestly is not that far off in her own design.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was thinking about who you mean when you say Ken, but not standard.
No. We didn't have time for any side events on that Saturday because none of us were prepared to drop from Maine. Apparently that is an ongoing cultural difference between the American Nats and EU ones, in that EU players go there to play regardless of whether they win or lose, and therefore the side events on the same day as the main event are massively underpopulated because nobody drops.
I dropped, but that was for more health reasons than not wanting to play the game.
Yeah, and your health reasons took you home, not to the side events.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
So-
there were any side events on that day that I was like looking for. So just stay playing.
Yeah. And I will
kind
say
of
there was a big downside to not playing in the side events because, as we sort of mentioned, we got 4 participation points from playing the old dog's new tricks the day before. We got next to nothing from playing in the main event. I got 1 participation point, 1 promo that isn't even foil, this match that looks absolute garbage, and will be used in a couple of upcoming videos about the event, but will probably be just given away or maybe even thrown away after that because I have so many mats, and if I want a cool one, I've got my own. This mat means nothing to me, but I
Well,
do
so-
honestly quite like the little Nationals pin, even if it is quite small and hard to see on camera even.
Yeah, I do quite like the pin, but I'm very much a sucker for any kind of pin.
So yeah, the rewards were not great, and you may notice behind me 2 oversized cards. For perspective, this is what they look like up close and personal. They are really nice, and they are a really nice addition to my background. But they were 2 points apiece. That main event meant I got half a card.
Damn.
Yeah. Had I come top 32, which was just over half, I would have got an entire booster box, and it would have been a great return on my investment. But as was, I paid £27.30, I think it was, after the taxes that they put on top of the original £25 for 1.5 promos, a small pin, and a mat that I will never use.
Yeah, and the old Nationals mat, I quite enjoy seeing. It's not the best mat they've done, but
Yeah.
it had the promos on them. So you got the promos for the event, and they were on the playmat, which was
Yeah.
really nice.
When you say promos for the event, I got 3 promos for participating in Old Dog's new tricks, which wasn't a vast amount, but for a side event, it was great. Previous nationals, I mean, I've had that every round. There have been
Like,
nationals where just every round you'd sit down and they'd hand you 3 booster packs and you wouldn't even pay for entry.
mm,
Obviously, that's not a good business model that they could keep going forever. That had to change with my hero. But the fact that support for nationals has gone so far down, if you're not one of the winning players, it's wild to me.
yeah, because last Nationals, we got like the playmat, we got, I think, 3 booster packs and like 3 different promos, maybe 4.
Yeah, I got most of a box because, again, I came top 32. And then also, previous nationals, they had the colossal character cards, which is where this best genist came from. Coincidentally, we'll also be talking about him soon. And those were just given away to participants at random. And those are one of a kind on this continent. I think there are 4 in total in the world of that best genist. 1 for each nationals and 1 for worlds. So that is a very unique giant card that I got prior to the release of the set. And apparently I wasn't actually supposed to play it at locals when I got it. I have had it officially confirmed. But also, the PR guy at Nationals that year told me I could, and nobody told me I couldn't at the time. So I had a lot of fun playing the character before he officially came out as well.
Yeah, and like with the giant cards, we're big into Attack on Time right now. It's the perfect time for colossal giant cards.
Well, I mean, they did have 1 colossal card for the release of Attack on Titan, but we've seen nothing of that nature since. The closest we've seen are these double-sized Trinket and History's Greatest Monster, which aren't even Attack on Titan related. I mean, these are great, don't get me wrong, but they're not nearly as impressive as a card that's almost the size of me.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I found disappointing. I think they could easily have just distributed those boxes a little bit better, open some, distribute the packs down. Can you imagine if you had like 40 players participating, or 36, and 32 go out with a box and 4 just go out with nothing? That would be like really weird.
Yeah,
So,
as is, we had 69 players there. Top 32 got a box. So there's another sort of 2 or 3 players who would have been in the top half but not got a box just due to random tiebreakers and stuff. People would still be losing out for reasons not necessarily related to their gameplay. And then we
Yeah.
had people like me where the deck just crapped out and it was all just bad luck. I do think we could have done what we did the previous year, where rather than a box, they got 18 packs and then just hand out the remaining 6 packs to the lower tables so that it was a bit more balanced.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because now cards are a lot harder to get as well because of the bigger set, so there's
Yeah,
more
yeah.
incentive to open pack. But now that there's more incentive to do it, we're getting less.
Yeah, packs are way more valuable now than they used to be because of the giant sets that we're getting. And we know that's not changing in the coming sets either. they keep telling us that they're going back to smaller sets with Heroes of Exandria, the Critical Role set, and it's 211 cards. That's the second biggest set we've ever had. Booster packs are not going to become less valuable anytime soon. And I do really think the prizing for that event could have been better for participants who didn't do crazy well. Through some
Yeah.
fault of their own, through tiebreakers, through randomly just getting terrible luck, any of those things.
Yeah, I think they could have done it better. I generally
Right.
enjoyed the prize wall, but again, only once we played side events. In fact, like when I think back, what I would now like to do is just go to the event and just play side events throughout those 3 days. Sounds way more fun. Have different events, try different characters, play different people, different formats, and get a lot of points and get all these nice promos.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
honestly
exactly.
agree. Is that of the 3 days I went there, the worst day was the actual event. And yeah, I did quite badly in the event, but I had a good time playing with the people I did. They were all fun games. It was just a big, regular event. There was nothing special about National. The prizing wasn't great. Other than the playmat, we got just as much prizing at locals, pretty much. You're paying a lot more.
Oh, I can tell you right now, I get 2 promos a time for locals.
Exactly.
I get 1 for this.
If you don't care about the playmat, which these ones I don't really do, we get more prize support at locals than a
Yeah.
national event, which is an invite event.
And locals cost me a fiver. Yeah. You say you had fun in all your games. I had fun in a bunch of my games, but I also had such a depressing back half of the event that I actually came away from Saturday not sure if I was going to continue playing UniVersus,
Oh,
at least on a
wow.
competitive level.
I mean, I went into National with a very different mindset being playing Tiger. I knew I wasn't playing a great, so I knew I wasn't going to do well. Probably affect how I felt about the event as well. I
I
just want to give Tiger his last big event. I don't care how I do, I just want to play him.
For me, this was the last big event that could actually get me travel to Worlds because, sure, I can win through points for participating in events and doing well repeatedly and invite to Worlds in the future, but that doesn't get me to Worlds, and I don't have the money to travel to the US myself. So this was my last chance to make a mark on the game and get to Worlds by doing so. So there was a lot riding on this for me, and that was part of the pressure. But at the same time, I came in with a deck that I knew should succeed, that I had spent ages working on, knowing that I had done the exact same thing a dozen events prior and not succeeded. So I had no illusions that I was actually going to win this event until after 3 rounds I'd faced one of the best decks, possibly even 2 of the best decks, depending on whether you still count Toga or not, and one of my worst possible matchups in Jota and come away 2-0-1, 2 wins and a draw. Having done that, things were looking really up. All I needed was to perform similarly after lunch, and that would have seen me in tops. And I don't even care about winning the event. It's just topping, getting my list out there, getting the publicity for what I've made, feeling like I've left a mark, and ideally, yes, getting that big travel to Worlds, because that, again, is a point of pride among the community. It helps people take you seriously, which I don't feel a lot of people do a lot of the time.
Mm.
So coming back from the event, finding out that there is a small write-up on my deck is really nice. That shows that people actually cared. It does mean something to people. And you can find that deck in the list of decks from the event, I believe. I believe the UGN deck builder has it public now. But at the same time, as said, I will be going over the deck that I played at Locals, which is exactly the same, in the coming months. I don't know exactly when. I'll try and get it out as soon as possible, but I would like to prioritize some other things first. After having such a depressing day playing Woman, and then playing her in a short standard event on the side and having a weirdly similar experience, I gave up on her completely for teams, and frankly, I was only playing teams for my friends here. I had no interest in continuing to play the competitive event. But I went along anyway, and I thought, haha, let's have fun. Let's play a really mean deck. Let's play Nezu. Turns out, there were both good and bad reasons to play Nezu in teams. Because I didn't realize teams was a best of 1 event, meaning that they were 40-minute rounds rather than 60 plus overtime. So Nezu was not actually capable of finishing a game. However, I mentioned I topped earlier. We all topped together in teams, which sounds like a side event, right? But with the championship belt for teams being brought back for the first time since my hero started and UVS games took over, people were actually gunning for that almost as much as they were gunning for the Nationals top.
There was a lot of talk with other players before the event where they was more excited for the 3v3
Yeah.
than Nationals itself.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, there were Facebook polls that said it was 2-1, that people cared more about the belt than about the trip to Worlds, which is kind of wild to me.
Yeah.
And I just want that out there as an idea of how serious this event actually was, because
Yeah,
it
all
wasn't just a nothing event. It wasn't
all-
just a gimmicky side thing.
All this is telling me is that to try and get more people to care about the regular event, is they should bring belts for the topping players.
And belts or the prize cards need to come back, the actual cards of the players.
Yeah.
And they have been in talks about doing that, I believe, since the Dark tournament. But given the controversy over people cheating in the Wish tournament and various other bits and pieces, and just the fact that it takes time to make the card, we haven't seen the results of that yet. And until we do, the hype won't be there again.
Yeah.
But I mentioned that Nezu didn't win a game. Nezu also struggled to lose a game. Nezu did Nezu things and took people to time every time almost. And so I was sat there taking out the worst possible opponent for our team. And in the meantime, we had the two of us on the side here who actually had a shot at winning games. My favorite moment in the whole of teams was when my opponent actually did manage to beat Nezu in one round, and we were just sat there talking afterwards, and I looks over at the game state and sees his teammate on their turn. Yuna has like 8 health, and just sort of feeling relatively confident, and then we chat for a little bit more, and like 2 minutes later or something, turns to me, and turns out it's Yuna's turn now, and she goes, "Is that a Levi's Rampage?"
Yeah.
And yeah,
Levi's
it's just
Rampage is
Levi's
great.
Rampage and 4 momentum while the opponent's on 4 health. And it's just such a swing from Yuna being at 8 and being attacked to
Mhm.
that one card taking the entire game.
Yeah, I think I had City Rampage as well, so it was pretty
Yeah.
much unable to fail its check.
Yeah. Levi's Rampage was a fairly last minute addition to your Tiger deck, but it definitely did us so much good.
Yeah, it very much reminds me of how Slashing Whirlwind used to be in the deck. You don't want to see it early, but if you see it late game, it will win you the game.
Yeah.
Whereas before, it was one big 14 damage attack, whereas now it's a lot of like 7 speed, 8 damage attacks.
Nice.
So yeah, you can block 2 of them, but you're probably not blocking all 4 of them.
But at the same time, your Tiger deck wasn't a fast deck, was it?
No.
And Jota, you were playing Momo in the event, right?
I was, yes.
So your deck also wasn't a super fast deck.
No.
And that was part of why our team worked. We could get some quick wins in here and there, sneak them through, but we could also continue to not lose for the entire duration of time. And so a lot of the time it would be one of us won, the other two drew, and therefore we'd win the round. So whichever
Yeah.
one person of the team had the good matchup was all we needed.
Yeah, and a lot of the time that was weirdly Tiger because it was kind of the dark horse because people saw him, they didn't know what he did, and they just wrote him off
Yeah, I mean,
and
that
just saw him as that free win.
was your experience with qualifying for nationals as Tiger as well, right? Is people
Yeah.
saw him and went, "Oh, as an infinite combo. Obviously, he's playing the infinite combo," and shored themselves up against that, paying no attention to the actual Tiger list.
Yeah, I think other than locals once, I haven't gone for the infinite combo with Tiger because it just seemed boring.
Yeah. I liked the infinite combo with Tiger, but it was so much setup, and it was the only thing the deck did when you ran it.
Yeah, that was my issue with it at locals is that, yeah, I won the games, I saw it, but I lost every time I didn't, whereas the other list I made mostly myself with a bit of help from you two. It had a lot more backbone to it other than just being a one-trick Tiger.
Yeah, it still didn't actually win a locals until very recently, but we'll talk about that in an upcoming video quite soon. Do you want to talk about how your Momo did in that, Jota?
So I was a bit disappointed it was best of one because I realized that the best way to play my Momo is having Ime in my side deck. So I ran into Bertolt and just lost those games. But it was one game, yeah, one game against Bertolt. Otherwise, I think I won 2 games and drew 1. The ones I won was against Reina 2 and Toga 3.
We did get into top for that, as said. We weren't even the bottom of top. I believe we were third.
Yeah, we were because we was at 3 wins and 1 loss. The team that we did lose to were first, though. We had
Yeah,
pretty good
I'm pretty
tiebreakers.
sure we lost to the best team at the whole event.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so I think we had the disadvantage going into top. They got the advantage of being the higher seed still. And our matchups were okay. but they were playing things like Godzilla and Bertolt, and I believe you did take down Bertolt in the end, because for top cuts, they led us 2 out of 3, and therefore you did get to Silent Ymir. Whoever I was facing took down Nezu pretty easily that time, and Tiger didn't win against Godzilla.
Turned out Godzilla beats Godzilla Light.
Yeah, Godzilla just does the same things better,
Yeah,
and
he didn't
therefore...
let me get to Levi's Rampage, which is the big thing of the deck.
Yeah, and therefore we didn't go any further in top cuts, but third place in an event that people were taking way too seriously is still pretty darn good, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the people who came above us in the event were a fair few of the people that did make top cut at nationals and stuff. So
Yeah. Although I still think it's wild that I'm pretty sure I beat the person who topped nationals. And then just proceeded to not top cut myself due to losing to everything else after, bad luck wise. But
Yeah, I think now you mentioned it, I did win one Bertolt game in the top 4 because it was best of 3, and I just swapped in Ymir. Lost first game, and I just went with Ymir, and it's
yeah.
super quick.
But the rest of the team at that point couldn't carry you.
yeah, I got hosed. I don't think we went to turn 4 either of those games against Godzilla.
They were all difficult characters to play against, right? It was Godzilla, Bertolt, and I forgot what the third character was.
I forget what the third character was as well, but it was somebody who... Oh yeah, it was Byakko, who normally I have a good matchup against with most of my decks. Because I mean, I turned 2 Byakko with my Genkai list, and Nezu's done okay against Byakko in the past, but this matchup, the Byakko had extra flip in addition to the flip on face, and it just was so rough never having access to any of my foundation abilities. It was a terrible time facing that Byakko.
We got finished in like 10 minutes my game, so I spent a lot of that final round just watching you two play, and it always looked like you was on the back pedal.
Yeah, even when I went first, I was on the back foot. Because yeah, other rounds, I'd been seeing Bertolts and stuff throw out 7 attacks in a turn and just going, remove, remove, block, remove, block, block, remove. I'm sat there going, are you sure you play 7 attacks? I'll take nothing. Nezu list was succeeding. There was one match where had we had literally a second more, it would have gone to their turn, they would have drawn their last card and lost. So it's not as if the Nezu wasn't actually winning the matchups, it just wasn't winning the matchups fast enough. But it was still taking out the worst opponent for the team. So it wasn't as if you just carried me to tops. It was a team effort.
Like if it wasn't for you there stalling the annoying one to a tie, we probably wouldn't, because a lot of times it was just like win, tie, tie.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still absolutely shocked that we are now an event-topping team. I would like to go over your decks in the not-too-distant future. The Tiger one's definitely coming up. Would you be interested in joining us for that, Jota? For your own?
Yep.
Cool. Then I'll see you for that then, everyone. And there will be a slight update as well, just to the thumbnail of my Nezu deck list, because, well, there's no point doing a new video. I'll link you to the old one in the description. But it is now a winning deck, so it needs that gold winning deck font.
Nice.
That's all for now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.